Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, we're tackling something that I think a lot of us have probably thought about at some point. You know, those what-if scenarios about meeting someone famous and hitting it off.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Like, we're talking about the whole celebrities you'd want as a friend thing, and there's this great list on the top10s.com with tons of comments about who people would pick and why. Obviously, it's all super subjective, but
Right, because what makes a good friend is so personal.
exactly. But that's what makes it so fun to dive into. It's like a window into what people value in their relationships. So I thought we could start by looking at some of these comments and see what kind of insights we can uncover.
Awesome, yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so right off the bat, there's one name that seems to get universal love, Morgan Freeman.
Ah, a classic choice.
One commenter said, if God has a voice, it's Morgan Freeman's, which I think pretty much sums up his appeal.
It really does. He's got that voice, but also it's like he's cultivated this persona of wisdom and kindness over his whole career, and those are definitely qualities a lot of people would look for in a friend.
Totally. And it makes me wonder if it's more than just liking someone's work or personality. It's almost like we're projecting these idealized qualities onto celebrities. Like we're casting them in the role of perfect friend.
You're totally onto something there. It's this whole psychological thing called parasocial relationships, where we form these connections with people in the media, even though we don't actually know them. And it's easy to start filling in the blanks with our own ideas about who they are.
Fascinating. So would you say then when we're imagining these celebrity friendships, we're kind of creating these idealized versions of them in our minds?
Exactly. It's not always about who they actually are, but more about what we want them to be or what we imagine them to be.
Okay, so then things can get a little tricky when a celebrity's public image doesn't quite match up with a perfect friend ideal.
Oh, absolutely.
And that brings us to someone a bit more polarizing on the list, Ariana Grande. There's a lot of love for her, but also some pretty harsh comments. One person wrote, held to the NO. Ariana Grande may be beautiful on the outside, but she is not a very kind person at all. It goes on, but wow, talk about a different vibe from the Morgan Freeman comments.
It is a huge contrast, and it shows how much our perceptions can be shaped by just snippets of information, whether it's from the media, social media, or just gossip we hear. It's rarely about who the celebrity actually is, but more about the narrative that gets built around them.
Yeah, and it's easy to get caught up in those narratives, whether they're positive or negative. So how much of this is happening with real-life potential friends, too? Are we also projecting these idealized qualities onto people we meet in everyday life?
All the time. I mean, think about it. We all have these preconceived notions about what a good friend should be like, right? And those biases definitely influence who we're drawn to.
So you're saying, like, we might be more likely to befriend someone if they fit our pre-existing idea of what a good friend looks like, even if that idea is not entirely accurate.
Exactly. We're constantly filtering information through our own lenses. It's human nature.
Okay, so we've got these idealized qualities being projected onto celebrities and potential friends alike. But then there's another interesting angle that came up on the list. This comment about Ellen DeGeneres was simply, if I became friends with her, then I'd be financially secure. I mean, talk about a practical approach to friendship.
Right. And it highlights another layer to this whole celebrity friendship thing. Sometimes it's not even about genuine connection at all, but about what the celebrity represents: success, wealth, access.
It's like wanting to be friends with them for the perks, not for who they are as a person.
That's it exactly.
Wow. So we've got idealized qualities, we've got biases, and now we've got this desire for status and perks thrown into the mix. This is getting complex.
It is, but that's what makes it so fascinating.
Absolutely. It's amazing how much we can learn about ourselves and how we view the world just from a simple who would you be friends with list.
Totally agree. And I think it's worth remembering that this tendency to project and assume and be influenced by external factors isn't just limited to celebrities. We do it with everyone we encounter, to some extent.
So in a way, this whole deep dive into celebrity friendships is actually a deep dive into human nature itself.
Exactly.
It really makes you think about how we form opinions about people, especially when it comes to celebrities.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like I was looking at some of the comments about Bill Murray and Seth Rogen. And it's interesting how they both got such a mix of reactions. Some people love them, some people not so much.
Yeah, those are good examples of how sometimes it's hard to pin down a celebrity's persona.
Right. Like with Seth Rogen, one commenter said, well, sure, if you want an annoying stoned idiot stealing your potato chips, which, I mean, is pretty harsh. But then another person called him a comedic genius. So it's like, how do you even reconcile those two views?
It's tough because we're all coming to the table with our own baggage, so to speak, our own biases and preconceived notions. And that can definitely color how we see people, even famous ones.
Right. And it makes me think about that whole confirmation bias thing we were talking about earlier. Are we more likely to believe information that confirms what we already think about someone? Like, if you already think Seth Rogen is hilarious, you're probably going to focus on the positive comments and ignore the negative ones.
Oh, absolutely. Confirmation bias is a powerful thing. It's like our brains are wired to look for evidence that supports our existing beliefs, even if those beliefs aren't totally accurate.
So how do we break free from that? Is it even possible to form a truly objective opinion about someone, especially a celebrity, when there's so much information and so many different perspectives out there?
That's the million-dollar question. And it's something we should all be thinking about, not just when it comes to celebrities, but in all areas of life. I think it starts with being aware of our own biases, recognizing that we all have them, and then actively seeking out diverse perspectives. Don't just read the headlines or listen to the loudest voices. Try to find information that challenges your assumptions and be open to the possibility that you might be wrong.
I love that, be open to being wrong. That's such a valuable piece of advice. Okay, so let's apply that to this celebrity friend list. I'm looking at a comment about Johnny Depp that says he sounds funny and is not evil like others. Obviously, this is referencing all the controversy surrounding him in recent years. It's fascinating how public perception can shift so dramatically based on things that might not even be true or might have nothing to do with someone's actual character.
It's a perfect example of how powerful media narratives can be. And it's a reminder that we need to be critical consumers of information. We can't just accept everything we read or hear at face value. We need to question, analyze, and consider multiple perspectives.
And maybe that's a good takeaway for everyone listening. Whether you're forming an opinion about a celebrity, a politician, or even a potential friend in your own life, don't just go with your gut reaction or what you see on the surface. Dig a little deeper, challenge your assumptions, and be open to being apprised.
Exactly. Because as we've seen with this whole celebrity friend list, our perceptions are often more about us than they are about the other person.
Okay, that's a pretty mind-blowing thought. So if we're all projecting these idealized qualities onto celebrities, does that mean we're setting ourselves up for disappointment? Like, no one can live up to that kind of fantasy, right?
That's the danger of parasocial relationships. We can get so invested in these idealized versions of people that we lose sight of their humanity. And then when they inevitably fall short of our expectations, we can feel disillusioned or even betrayed. It's important to remember that celebrities are just people with flaws and complexities just like everyone else.
That's such a good point. And it brings us back to this question. Why are we so drawn to celebrities in the first place? What is it about them that captures our imagination and makes us want to be their friend, even if it's just a fantasy?
Well, I think it's a few things. Probably it's partly the allure of fame, right? We're drawn to people who seem to have it all: talent, success, tons of fans. And it's partly escapism. It's fun to imagine ourselves hanging out with them, living their exciting life vicariously.
And it's not always about fame and fortune either. Sometimes it's about the qualities they embody. Like we talked about Morgan Freeman and that aura of wisdom and kindness. Maybe we're drawn to him because those are things we're looking for in our own lives.
Exactly. We see them through the lens of our own needs and desires.
Okay, we've covered a lot here today. Parasocial relationships, confirmation bias, the pull of fame, and how we project what we want onto celebrities. What does it all mean for the rest of us, though? You know, the non-famous people trying to figure out friendships of the real world.
I think it all boils down to this. Maybe the best thing we can learn from all this celebrity friend stuff is to be more aware of how we see things and what we expect, not just from celebrities, but from everyone.
So instead of wishing we were best friends with some famous person, maybe we should focus on building real connections with the people who are already in our lives.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, those are the relationships that really make a difference, the ones that bring us joy, support, and make us feel like we belong.
So like instead of daydreaming about going on some crazy adventure with Bill Murray, we should be appreciating that friend who always cracks us up, even if they're not a famous comedian.
Yeah, exactly. And I think there's something really special about that, right? Like the connections we make, the things we do together, the inside jokes, the way we support each other. That's what makes real friendships so amazing.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the psychology of it all, but let's get back to this list for a second. If you had to pick just one celebrity from this list to be your friend, who would it be and why?
Really think about it. Are you drawn to someone universally loved like Morgan Herman? Or do you lean more towards someone a little more on the edge like Johnny Depp? What does that say about what you look for in a friend? What qualities matter most to you?
Those are great questions for everyone listening, and it's something you can keep exploring on your own. Go check out the whole list on thetop10s.com, see who stands out to you, and maybe even do a little research on whoever you pick. See if they actually live up to the image you have in your head.
And while you're at it, take a minute to appreciate all the amazing friends you already have. The ones who are there for you no matter what, the ones who make you laugh till you cry, the ones who just get you.
Because in the end, those are the friendships that really count. The ones that make our lives richer and make us feel connected and supported and loved.
I couldn't agree more. So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's all raise a glass to the friends who make our life brighter, funnier, and more meaningful.
Cheers to that. And until next time, keep exploring, keep connecting, and keep celebrating the power of real-life friendships.